Welcome to Talks with Teads. I'm Dani Cushion, the Chief Marketing Officer at Teads. I am very happy to be joined today by Melissa Berger, who is the Chief Digital Solutions Officer at Digitas. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Really
in this beautiful location by the pool.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a fun spot.
It really is. I think you got the best cabana, just
Thank
saying.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's start actually, just tell me about your role. Tell me about how you got to your role and what you're doing at Digitas.
Yeah, so the solutions team started about 2.5 years ago when Amy Lancy became the CEO of Digitas. And I've been the CRM and loyalty lead at Digitas for many, many years, and I've been a part of the Publicis Group COE. It's an area of specialty. Mm-hmm. And when Amy was joining, we had connected at her role at PCX when she was running Publicis Commerce. And she's like, I really want to start the solutions team more formally. I want to really increase business across social transformation, CRM and loyalty, which we call addressable relationships and commerce. Pretty skilled in, creative and media, which obviously we work a lot with you all. But we really wanted to kind of kickstart a little bit more growth in those areas. So we're in 2.5 years. Year one was kind of building and, pulling kind of the SMEs over to the team. Year two, we really hit some strides and grew those areas tremendously within the year. Each of those has a dedicated captain, and our goal is thought leadership, product development, new business, organic business, and really just being a partner to the managing directors and the CLs. So, how I got there, I've never been one to be shy of a crack in a door and kind of leaping through it. And I think, having a CEO like Amy, she's just been super supportive about all the new and interesting things we can do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And I know we were speaking earlier about your team is also growing into other capabilities.
Absolutely.
What are some of those areas?
Yeah. So, social transformation is huge right now. Christina Gosseler is our head of that. She's been doing an incredible job. We have almost 100 social strategists now. Wow. And, a lot of the social work is across every capability: social commerce, social strategy, paid social, creators, influencers. But it's really kind of continuing to scale that. And then addressable relationships is another area. Again, CRM and loyalty. So many clients want more first-party data. Yep. They want to know more about their customers. So we're really focusing in that area and helping them build kind of programs behind that. And then lastly, commerce. Krista Klausner has grown that team tremendously, focused a lot on retail media, but now we're really trying to scale into social commerce, D2C, some other areas of growth.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Great
it's been
growth.
fun. Yes.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It's, the agency life and the partner life, it's crazy, but it's fun and rewarding in a lot of ways.
There's always interesting stuff happening.
Always.
Always able to drive innovation.
Yeah, always. There's always something new every single day.
So I would love to have you talk about, you host your own podcast.
Yes.
Spilling the Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Which is the best name ever. Really the best name ever. In, I think, a recent podcast with Anda Ganska, whom I love, who's an amazing woman, you talked about 2026 being a year of realism. Yeah. Can you talk to me about what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So thank you for plugging the podcast. We're again in year 3 of that. My original co-host, Brad Blackman, he actually is now back with Publicis Group, which is great. Now Lancy co-hosts with me, but it's really just about broad loyalty. Big L, little L. Yes, we talk about programs, but all of us are actually loyalty marketers. Every single brand and platform and partner wants people to be loyal to them and buy more, spend more, engage more. So Anda came on. We've been doing a ton with Notch. And we just talked about kind of what we're seeing in the marketplace. And I think where the year of realism really came up is there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of conversation. Everything's about AI. But the reality is what does that actually mean for what's getting in front of a customer? Does it actually drive, again, loyalty, revenue, ROI? And I think that's really what we talked a lot about. We kind of need to go back to brilliant basics.
Interesting.
Everybody's chasing shiny objects right now. And while that's great and we should be leveraging them, I also think it's really important to kind of take a beat and say, okay, what does this actually mean again for the end customer and consumer?
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like a lot of the conversation that I've heard this week, but even in the last quarter, the last several quarters, is finding that balance between human and AI, particularly with a lot of the work that you do is culture launching.
100%.
There's really cultural changing.
Yeah.
How do you and your teams think about the balance of the human AI mix?
One thing that we're really proud of at Digitas is we have our own AI platform that we've built. Our chief systems officer has been building this with his team. So it's really exciting. And we have a lot of people who are just kind of building agents. And now we're really focused on kind of the connectivity and an agentic system for our different capabilities. However, we have human verified, everywhere, because at the end of the day, you'll see a lot where no one's reading the brief that AI spit out. No one's thinking about the context and the nuances that can't come through in a prompt. Yeah. Now, for synthesis, for speed, for scale, love it. There's so many applications, but when you're trying to hit a cultural moment, that has to be human intervention and human led. Otherwise, you're going to miss the moment, and it's going to then actually feel unauthentic, which we know is really challenging. Gen Z, we're starting to see, which is obviously a huge target for everybody. They don't want to see it. They are actually offended and are leaving platforms where they feel like it is focused on AI and AI slop. So we have to make sure we do the balance.
So interesting. We have a similar philosophy at Teads, you know, as well, but how do we actually use AI to be able to advance outcomes, but in a way that still really holds on to that beautiful storytelling that is human-led and human-guided.
You know what crazy stat I heard? 1 in 5 people have a relationship with an AI bot thing. I'll call it a thing. And that is frightening.
It's frightening.
And I think, like, for me, that's where the human connection, the subject matter expertise is so important because this is a relationship. You can't recreate that in an AI format. And so I think, again, having agentic support, and a lot of brands are using it so well, it doesn't replace the human. It just can't ever fully replace that.
It can't. And I tell you what, I remember at CES earlier this year, Jenny Rooney at Adweek had so many interesting panels about how do you actually make sure that you are engaging consumers in the right way with all of these expansion of screens and consumer behavior changing, and the number of things that consumers are relying on these different agents for. It becomes somewhat ethical and a little bit of a different conversation. So I love that you find the balance.
It's important. I mean, again, we are all in at Publicis Group as a whole, but I think, like, we all are kind of navigating the space as to where, you know, it's most important for those experts to still really be engaged throughout the entire process.
Well, I love let's talk about the entire process. I think, how do you actually take what you've learned from one campaign or another campaign and not just have it be a post-campaign moment, but so it actually changes the next brief? How do you think about operationalizing your learnings?
You know, it's so interesting because, again, I think the synthesis of data to get to insights is something that, you know, some of these agentic programs can do so well, so that you're spending time with the so what. Okay, great. We have this data. You know, a lot of clients don't just want to see a chart on a slide anymore, right? They want to know, what does this mean for our business? How is it actually changing behavior? A brief is an agency's nemesis and best friend, because when you get a bad brief, it obviously is going to lead to a bad output. And so we actually talked about this on a panel earlier this week, that, you know, having a great brief where we actually have all the right intel and insights is so important. And the important factor of that is the feedback loop of how campaigns were actually did. And this gets into the incrementality conversation. We need to make sure that we're actually proving out the incrementality, showing what worked and feeding that back in. So again, great use from an AI engine perspective is to always make sure you have the feedback loop. But it's something we've been really thinking about, is like, where in the workflow this makes the most sense, and making sure that those insights are a part of the next briefing, next activation, next experience.
Yeah, I love that. And we spoke earlier and you said incrementality has been a hot topic.
Hot topic, yeah.
What are you hearing?
You know what's funny is, I mean, you know, we've been in this business a long time. Incrementality has been a topic since day one. And the reason it's still a topic is because nobody really does it that well. I saw a stat this week that only 8% of brands actually have a formal incrementality testing program. So it means 92% of the brands out there don't. And a lot of times it's because of speed, pressure, complexity, inertia. But I think it's real challenging, because marketing being seen as a cost center instead of a revenue generating, you know, team or engine, you kind of have to be willing to keep that holdout group. You need to be willing to do the testing to be able to actually prove that out. So it's been a real hot topic because it's still not scaled.
Well, this is amazing. I'd love to just wrap with I sort of love these kinds of questions, but what would you tell your earlier career self, knowing what you know now?
Oh, goodness.
What would you tell your early career self about what to do in this industry, where to go?
I think it kind of goes back to when I kind of introduced myself. I just don't be afraid. I think a lot of people they're not willing to share their ideas. They feel like they're not going to be received well. I think I would tell myself, like, share your ideas, share your thoughts, you know, just be bold. And, you know, it was a lot of ideas, especially Digitas, you know, it's very entrepreneurial for being such a big company. Great, let's do it.
Amazing.
So I just think, like, don't be shy. I would tell myself to just, like, you know, keep coming up with ideas, keep kind of moving towards, like, you know, moving the goalposts, but not to be scared to share your opinion.
That is great advice for all of us.
Isn't it?
At the age.
Yeah, exactly.
Melissa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.